Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, thank you, Mr. Producer. And I am joined by someone very special here on the Danielle Anatra show. It is Danielle Anatra. Danielle, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Terrific. You do some interesting work. Can you tell me and my audience what Danielle Anatra Incorporated is and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a medium and I'm also a mentor. I do readings that consist of really mediumship and or psychic work, psychic connection. Mediumship is where you connect to someone's loved ones that have crossed over. And psychic work for me is based off of someone's past, presence, and I like to say guidance into their future, because we all have free will. So ultimately your future is really created by the actions you choose for yourself. I also mentor people in mediumship and psychic development, also personal development, that like mindset mentality for people. And right there's so many people are having all these like psychic and spiritual awakenings and they don't know what to do with it. It comes off as anxiety and things like that. So I want them to understand kind of what's happening and what's going on with them. With this work, the one thing that I'm always glad was that I had support. So even if you're not getting support from your family or your friends, because I find that that happens so often with people, there's so many wonderful people and networks out there. So I recommend that for anyone looking to pursue this work or to do it or learn more about it. It's really important to find the group that kind of vibes best with you, because always go where you're drawn. And if something feels good, go with it. And if it doesn't feel that warm and fuzzy for you, just run. Because there's a lot of people out here. Seriously, there's a lot of people out here that, you know, aren't doing the right things too. So you really always have to go by your gut and follow that. So, but
Understood.
Support was the biggest thing for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I understand that you're pretty much the messenger. The person doesn't come through you and say, now you're saying, I'm Bob from whatever. You're getting these messages and you just say, Bob wants to tell you if that's who comes through, right? You're kind of the liaison, the messenger. Is that correct?
Yes, basically, it's spirit. It has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with me. The messages have nothing to do with me. How I connect and how well or not well I connect has to do with me. And that's why the mindset and the personal development is important with this work. But yeah, so basically I'm like that middleman. They tell me something using, my thoughts, my feelings. It's not like having a conversation with you. My job would be much easier if it was like that. They give me like images and audio and, things like that I have to translate and see how I'm feeling. And you do that by kind of just putting yourself aside and, allowing them to work through you.
I got to tell you that I'm a huge supporter of you, and I'm a believer in it. I know that this is the real deal, because years ago I worked on another show, and this was before this man John Edwards.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay, before he was popular, whatever, and I got a reading from him, and one thing I remember was he told me to have a piece of paper and write these things down. They're not really going to make a lot of sense right now, but write them down. What kind of tools do you use when you do a reading?
Well, so people could prep very differently for reading. Some people come and they're just so open. For me, I just walk in and I just kind of, get in. I just kind of get into that place. Everybody is a little different. Some people choose to meditate beforehand and, call in all these people and guides and angels and, whatever. And like for me, it took a while to build this, but, I just know they're around me. I have that faith, and I kind of just put myself in a place of surrender when I do this. So I just know I'm protected, and I know, I know the right guides are around me, and I know who needs to be there is around me, and I know I'm safe. It's very important to know that you're safe when you're doing this work. I worked very hard to set positive intentions for myself. And I used to make myself crazy, honestly, when I first started. I went into I would get to my office or my kitchen table when I first started, and I would just sit there and I would sage the house and I would call in this one and that one. And one of my mentors is like, why do you do all that? And I was like, aren't you supposed to? Like, you're supposed to. And he's like, do you ask them to leave like after the reading? And I said, no. And he's like, then why do you keep calling them back in? You're protected. They're there with you. They're, and I just ask my angels and guides to come in as needed, because sometimes one energy is too strong for, somebody else that I'm sitting with. So, it's just a matter of calling in the right people and just really having that trust that spirit's got your back.
Gotcha. Danielle, when did you know, what age, that you had this gift?
Well, I definitely always, believe it or not, I always really like wanted to be psychic. I always, I always wanted
Like, as
to
a little
do
girl,
that.
you like, I want to be able to
Well,
do
I
this.
mean, I didn't think I was,
Okay.
I didn't think I was, but I just always felt like, I used to be so drawn to psychics, and I would always go, for readings and stuff, but I call them the Main Street psychics, the places like you just kind of go and they're like, oh, do you want a tarot reading? And I'm like, sure. It's 2 minutes. You pay them like $1 million and,
Right. Did you go to the
they tell you cool
conventions?
stuff.
The conventions on
Yeah.
the island, that they used to have at
Yeah.
hotels and stuff. I got you.
Exactly. I used to just go to those things and I used to love them. And, I was so drawn there, but I never really thought I was. And, what it is, it's such a natural gift that I tell people that I was unknowingly doing this for my whole life.
Okay.
That's what I always tell people, because once I started understanding spirit and practicing, connecting and doing things like that, I realized that I've been doing this forever, and it just comes so naturally that you don't even realize, like, you call people and they're like, oh, that's so funny. I was just
I was
thinking
just thinking
about
about
you.
you.
Yeah, like everybody has those like little, those little moments, and I just
Yeah.
have a lot of them. And I was always good at like giving advice to people,
Okay.
and I thought I was just like very honest, and I just gave, I would just give people advice, and people would always come to me. I kind of always like that light in the
You were the
dark room.
go-to. People would say,
Yeah,
let's
I
go to Danielle.
always was. And like, sometimes you say things to people and you're like, wow, that was really good. Like, who knew I had that, like
Right.
where those words come from. Like, but I never really questioned it until later in my life. My husband got sick about in 2012, I believe. And he had a brain tumor, he had brain cancer. He got diagnosed at 31, I believe.
God.
And he's in remission now. He's great.
Awesome.
But when that happened, my gifts really started to come out. Like my whole life, I had anxiety, and I had, so much stuff like that, autoimmune issues and ADHD, and I got diagnosed with all these things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when this happened with him, it was like off the charts.
It all came
So yeah,
booming.
it all came out. So when that happened, I was actually working a 9 to 5 job at the time, and this woman I know knew, this woman I worked with, a friend of mine. I was telling her everything that like that was happening, and with my husband and stuff, and she sent me to a healer, Pat Longo, who ended up being my first mentor. She's absolutely wonderful. And I was talking to her about my husband at first, and while I was trying to find holistic help for my husband, I ended up finding my first mentor. And she asked about me and like what was going on with me, and I told her, and then she helped me to open up my gifts and kind of see that, what I had going on. And it just all I just kind of dove into it, and I
That's
never
how it
looked
happened.
back. It was the first thing that I was like, wow, I'm actually good at this. Like, there was never something that I was like, I always liked things, or I couldn't find like my passion. And I thought I just
This
didn't
it
have
just
one.
it showed you that this is what you should be doing. This is how you're going to help
Right.
people. Like, you've
Right.
been doing it all along.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've been doing it all along. And I'm like, at first I'm like, should I be a psychologist or a therapist or something like that? And I was never really a school person. I never went to college. I went in for like one semester, and then I left my books somewhere, and I said, forget it, I'm not doing this anymore. And I left. So I'm like, I was kind of always just like floating in the wind. And this, like, it was so purposeful for me. And I always said, like, the first thing that I decide I want to do for, over a year is going to be the thing that I do.
Yeah.
So,
How about ESP? Did you ever have any ESP or something with your dreams?
oh yeah, well, I'm not a big dream person. I'm probably the wrong person to ask questions about dreams,
Oh, I
but
was just curious.
it's okay. What I believe, like I have had visitations and things like that.
What do you
I
mean
don't
by
know what the
what visitation? What do you mean?
like spirit could, they can visit you in your dreams, and you could have a lot of people come to me. They have dreams of their loved ones that pass, and they're just so vivid, and you feel like they're so real to you. And and I've had two experiences like that. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is why some people get them more often than other people, because I ask all the time for visitations and I just never get them. But I do know that my loved ones are around me. So I feel like it's the way that person maybe needs to receive them. You have to be in a certain realm of sleep as well. So if you're not a good sleeper and you don't really have like everyone has dreams, but if you don't really remember your dreams, it might be because you're not really sleeping too well. But I always say to people that your dreams could indirectly mean something for you. Or, and sometimes I tell people, if like you're having nightmares and stuff like that, like you could have just watched too much SVU. Like, it just could be, that's what, I mean, sometimes we see something during the day and we're like, and then it just follows us into our subconscious minds while we're sleeping. But I don't really know really the real rhyme or reason why some people have more vivid dreams than other people. I'm not sure, but I do know that whenever I do remember my dreams, for me personally, I have to listen to it because it's indirectly telling me something.
Gotcha. Now, who's
Mhm.
who's the perfect candidate to work with you?
Um, the perfect candidate to work with me, anybody that is really willing to do the personal development work. Anyone that's really willing to, really work on themselves. Because this is not my way works or your way works or somebody else's way works. I feel like everyone just has to kind of find the person that they are drawn to, because when you're drawn to somebody, that means you're ready for them or you're ready to learn something from them. If someone's not drawn to me right away, it might not be time to work with me. Like the energy has to align on my end and on your end for us to both, work very well together. The way I teach, you don't have to do it my way. I want you to find your own way because no one is ever going to be like anyone else. Like I have a lot of friends who are readers that I really look up to, and I think they're wonderful readers, but I'm never going to read like them, and they're never going to read like me. We're all individuals. We all have our own personalities, our own emotions, our own everything. So you have to find your way of working, and you do that by discovering who you are. So that personal development work is really important. So my second mentor, Brad Frizensky, I still work with him as well, along with Pat. And the first time I went to Brad's class, I got in there and he was like the inner work dude. He does all that personal development work and things that I would never even think to look at for myself. I was only 27 and I was just like, no, I have to do more readings and I have to do this and I have to do that. And like I just wanted to get better at my readings. And he kept saying like, basically telling me like all the things I needed to work on in myself. And I had no idea during this journey how screwed up I was. I thought I was always normal and nice, but don't you discover that? Like you lift up all these layers from yourself and you're like, wow, I'm really like effed up. Like, I need to get my stuff together. And it changed my life. Like, so at first I was like, I don't know if this class is for me. I don't want to do like go within. I just want to learn to read better. But it was a really hard 5 years. I'm still doing the work,
Yeah.
but I really did it hardcore for the first few years, and my anxiety minimized. I really stepped into my power. I was really able to build confidence and take control of my life. I didn't realize how much I was like faking the confidence, and I wasn't too sure. Like confidence is so important especially when you're doing a reading, because when you're doing a reading, the reason your confidence is important is spirit is always there to work with you. All right, they're always right there with you. But if you're not feeling confident, you're going, oh, I hope I can connect, or I hope you don't have that trust and that confidence, you're not going to be able to connect to them. You're not going to be able to hear them or see the signs that they're giving you. You're not going to trust anything that's coming through because you're not trusting yourself. So Brad taught me that was one of the most amazing lessons I could have learned. He deserves an award for putting up with me.
Hey, can you tell me about some services and some things that you offer at your business?
Sure. Well, I do mediumship and psychic readings. Every medium is a psychic, so I really don't like the term psychic medium, but I use it because that's what people know it as. Because some people come in and they're like, "Oh, you were psychic too," so I kind of just put that psychic medium on it. But yeah, I always tell spirit that when someone comes in for a reading, I tell them that I just trust spirit that they're going to give me what you want, not always what you need. So whether spirit has to come through or some kind of intuitive guidance has to come through, whatever's needed will be addressed during the reading. Because some people come in and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to grandma. I just want to know about this. But meanwhile, grandma might have the answers that, you're looking for. She might want to bring up what you want to talk about, the whole reason why you're here. So you never know, what's going to happen. And sometimes people are very gifted and, guidance will come through. So I always tell them, you're either going to get the medium, the psychic, or the teacher, maybe all three, or one or the other. It's always a surprise. And we never know, we never know what's going to come up, because I can't, no legitimate medium can ever guarantee that a particular person's going to come through, or they can't guarantee you're going to get certain information, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen during the reading. There's no way for me to really prepare for the words that are going to come out of my mouth. So, and spirit makes me say things the way, the way what the person is going to receive it, or the way they're going to be able to hear it and understand it. So that's why it's important never to judge your readings either. You have to just trust that you're giving it in a way that the person can kind of digest it the way they need to.
Mhm.
And the mentoring sessions are set up. I first, I screen people before I sit with them. If they make an appointment, if I don't know them, I'll reach out to them beforehand, and I'll just talk to them and see what's going on and see if I am a good match for
Good,
them.
good,
Because,
yeah.
if it's not something that I feel aligned with, then I might refer them to somebody else, or, I'll never leave them hanging, but I will, give them guidance maybe where they can go, because not everybody's for everybody. So,
Right, right.
mhm.
And do you feel sometimes that whoever comes through, because as we were talking about, you're kind of like the messenger, the go with the in between. What do you do to protect or ground yourself so you don't get any of the shrapnel of the energy that's come through or around you to work with someone?
Well, let me tell you this. I learned this the hard way, because I didn't
Oh,
listen.
wow. Okay. Tell me the story. Tell me about this.
I learned this the hard way. So when I first started doing this work, everybody would go through, like my mentor went, Pat was very specific with me with protection and, how to ground yourself, how to, protect yourself in light and all this. So I'm 27 and I just want to read, and I'm coming into this trying to understand it. And I'm just like, pretend I'm a flower, zipper my energy up. I'm like, are they crazy? I'm like, okay. I was thinking it was nuts, because I'm not very woo woo, if you want to say, but not that is, but I didn't realize how important the protection aspect of it was. So I was doing it, but I wasn't taking it seriously. Like, we have our chakras, our energy system, and we have to open it up to spirit or close it down. And for me, I'm like, I always wanted to be open. I was like, I wasn't taking it seriously, because I'm like, I want to feel everything. I want to be able to just read this person or read that person, or I wanted to be able to feel it all. And that's a really bad way to go into it, because I was feeling everybody. It was related to my anxiety. I didn't want to leave my house at a certain point. I couldn't go if I ever went to like a bar or a restaurant, or like my back was against the wall. I had to have the energy coming towards me. I can't sit in a movie theater. I asked my husband, he hates going to the movies with me. I never go with him. I change my seat about 5 times. I walk around the movie theater. I come back in. I can't, I wasn't able to
Wow.
be around that kind of energy. But what I was not understanding is that when you shut down your energy system, and when you do that for yourself, you're still able to connect to spirit. You're still able to connect to your higher power, your loved ones, everything like that. You're not getting everybody else's stuff. I'm not picking up on your grandpa, your relationship with your father. And I'm not picking up on all of that stuff coming into me. I'm not picking up on somebody else's anxiety, because a lot of times empaths will, they'll feel somebody else's things and take it on as their own, like anxiety, what it feels like, what sadness feels like. So if you walk into a store and you're happy and you you see somebody in there, really angry or in a bad way, you might leave that store being like, ugh, like, and just put yourself in a really bad mood,
Yeah.
but you don't realize that you're picking up on just somebody else's energy. So it's important to shut down, because a lot of people end up, you know, getting like hospitalized or whatever, because it's too
Too
overwhelming for
much.
them.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
way too much. So you
Yeah.
have to, make sure you know yourself, you know who you are, because when you could do that, then you know what's yours and what's not. Like, do your emotions match your current moment? Like, if you're happy, like, that's a great thing, should you be happy right now? If you're feeling really sad, is there a reason for you to feel sad right now? Like, what do are your emotions matching your moment?
Got
Like,
it.
that's what it's very important to do that, to stay centered and stay grounded, and only take on your own energy and not pick up everybody else's.
Okay, understood. Hey, we only got a couple of seconds left, so let me go to Mr. Producer, because you have some instant feedback that came in. People want to
Sure,
ask you some questions.
sure. That
So,
one's so quick.
yeah, well, it's when it's
Oh my
interesting, it
goodness.
goes quick. So, I think we got time for one question. Mr. Producer, what do you got, buddy?
Sure.
We have Jane in Dallas wants to know, can your services help people who are dealing with grief?
Yes. For that, it's different for everybody. Some people some people get a reading and they're like, all right, this is this message, like something that maybe you thought was left unsaid with somebody, or maybe you didn't get to say something to like someone before they passed, and it really like eats at you, or maybe you feel responsible for somebody's passing. That's a big one too. Or maybe feeling like you couldn't do enough for somebody. All these are very common and normal things for people to feel. So readings could really help you, because a person can really come through and just, kind of take that off of you, take that away from you, so you could make room to forgive yourself or to forgive them, or whatever kind of healing needs to be done. So yeah, the readings could really help with that. I also have other instances too, where I have a woman, she was a student and a friend now. She had lost her son, and she came to me for a reading. And, people want to come every like week, when they want to talk to their children or something like that. And, like, what am I going to tell you next week that I didn't tell you the week before, So she ended up becoming a student when she was never really into this before, and she wanted to learn to connect to her son. So I helped her with that. And it turns out she is an extraordinary medium, and she uses that. Now she's able to open her eyes to more signs and more symbols. She could talk to him, and she trusts the conversation that she's getting now, and she's absolutely wonderful. So it opened up a whole new world for her. And really, on the other side, like, they just want us to see us living our life. They don't want us grieving over them.
Right.
They want to see us. They want their death to have meaning to it, where we learn something from it, and we catapult up, and not lose faith completely. They don't want that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it definitely helps. So mentoring and the abilities really help. Depends on which direction.
Great question. We are out of time, so let me give you the time to tell people how to get a hold of you. It was a pleasure to meet you. Great show. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone on instant feedback, but how do we get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, danielleanatra.com, and you could book appointments on there. You can email me if you have any questions about my services, or if you want to set up something to be screened for mentoring. You could also call or text my work number. It's 516-384-8632. So you can also call me there. But I don't always answer because my kids are crazy.
All right, guys.
I will get back to you, though.
All right, guys. Danielle Anatra, thank you so much. And we will be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.